song out the window about my friend.
So Madcow is one of the neighbors?
Yeah.
The one that you had to move away from?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still own the house, but I rented it out.
You rented out, so you put someone else in beside Madcow?
Well, they ended up moving.
Yeah. They ended up moving, so right now it's sitting empty.
No, there's two people in there.
Okay, well, as you can see, this is pretty bizarre, but this is pretty interesting. I had to set it up a little bit. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the song?
Madcow was writing songs about us, so we were just trying to get even, you know?
So this was sort of a song war.
Yeah, it's like a song war, yeah.
Song war.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, we're pretty excited to hear this. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause for Keith Hodgins. Give it up.
Madcow and Crazyhorse, they were never married, they could never be divorced. Madcow and that lazy crazy horse, it's hard to love thy neighbor when they're screaming off the porch. Well, Madcow, she said, wow, at every simple thing he did. And Crazyhorse stayed home, of course, to help out with the kids. And the kids stared out the window at the garbage on the lawn. And the driveway looked like a wrecking yard, and the pool looked like a pond. And the landlord came by weekly for portions of the rent. And the pizza came on welfare day, and the dealers came and went. Cow and Crazyhorse, they were never married, they could never be divorced. Madcow and that lazy crazy horse, it's hard to love thy neighbor when they're screaming off the porch. Well, they roamed as free as buffalo before the fence was built. They came right in the kitchen when they asked for bread and milk, and many things were borrowed and very few returned. There were many bridges built and there were many bridges burned. And the kids stared out the window at a world they never knew. And Crazyhorse stayed home by force and sang the Madcow blues. Well, the kids were taught to scowl and stare at neighbors and passing cars. How in this democracy could life have been so hard? All the screaming out the windows, all the pounding on the walls. The little lads awake at night, they couldn't help but see it all. And they were full of animosity and jealousy and rage. There were windows draped with painters' tarps, but the whole world was a stage. And that Crazyhorse, the dormant force, got by on being bigger. And his Madcow plowed across the park going on about whites and wiggers, suppressed protesting at racist pests who were way too proud to move. They just sat back and smoked their crack and sang the Madcow blues. Sing it now. Madcow and Crazyhorse, they were never married, they could never be divorced. Madcow and that lazy crazy horse, it's hard to love thy neighbor when they're screaming off the porch. Well, I'm all about forgiveness, humanity, and peace. And I sympathize with bottom feeders, hoodlums, thugs, and thieves. And if status cards were credit cards, I'd give that Madcow 10 pounds of crack and a stack of Big Macs and a track of the Madcow blues. An old Crazyhorse in his spandex shorts crossed the line when he started spitting. But his Madcow wore the pants full time, and old Crazyhorse was smitten. So I'd buy him a home on the range road, rain, and I'd fill his Madcows with food. And I'd put up a sign on the words to this rhyme, and I called the Madcow Zoo. Sing it now. Madcow and Crazyhorse, they were never married, they could never be divorced. Madcow and that lazy crazy horse, it's hard to love thy neighbor when they're screaming off the porch.
Keith Hodgins! Remind me never to move in beside you. I don't know what my name would be.
You're a good neighbor, you know.
Yeah, sure. Well, that was was great. Now you wrote that
Right
song.
with my neighbors.
Yeah, so you wrote that song, of course. And
Yes,
this is about your name.
yes.
So how long did it take? I'm just curious, for my own behalf, how long did it take you to write that? Was this
That was a pretty quick one. That was
a
like
case of beer and you were done?
it was in demand. It needed to be done, you know. It needed to be done.
Well,
Yeah.
that was fantastic. I want to
They
get
totally
I want to
deserved
hear,
it.
The what?
They totally deserved it.
Well, that's. I wonder if they're here tonight.
No, they couldn't afford to be here.
All right. I got to hear what the judges have to say about this. We're going to start with Lee. Lee, what do you think?